We're glad that all of you are out tonight to participate in the democratic process of decision-making and voting. We've had a process review. If you look up on the next slide, Mr. Royal, you'll see how we have gone about selecting our questions and organizing that. We have, as far as the forum tonight, we will start out with our House candidates, Representative Saines and Mr. Cody Smith. You see the rules listed up there. The questions will be read and posted on the screen. Each candidate will open their respective question when the question is introduced. The written question is provided for each candidate to reference. Each question allows a timed response. The clock starts when the candidate speaks the first word of the answer. Questions are divided into two categories, biographical and topic specific. Candidates may offer a rebuttal in their closing comments. All right, we will start off with our first question, which allows each candidate to introduce themselves alphabetically. Representative Saines will start off.
Sure.
Oh, and hang on just a minute, I'm sorry. We have June Maxwell, come up here. June is our Vice Chair of Candidates and Elections, and she's going to be doing the questions for the House. I was getting way too ahead of myself. Okay, sorry.
And that was perfectly fine. All right, our first question, Representative Saines. Tell us about yourself and why you are the best candidate.
Sure. Can you hear me all right? I'm going to get up if that's all right. My name's Stephen Saines. For those I haven't had the pleasure to meet, I've been proud to serve you guys in the State House since 2018. District 180 is the farthest district from Atlanta, and I carry that intentionally, meaning that Atlanta is the farthest away and knows our values the least in terms of any other district in the state of Georgia. So the two things that I pride myself and hope we've done well is one, legislative services, and two, constitutional services. Been proud to champion DUI legislation when the Supreme Court modified our DUI laws to make them hard to implement in Superior Court. And I've been proud to serve 290 constituents in detailed constituent work. That means more than just a four, state agency. Through the pandemic, that was Department of Labor when we had massive shutdowns in our service industry, and now going out of it when we're closing that down and making sure people know appropriate services. I love Camden County. There's not much I can tell you in terms of qualifications that goes above my love for this community. I came here when I was 6 years old, and when my parents left, I chose to stay here and go to a night satellite school so I could stay and grow in Camden County. And I hope my service in the state legislature allows more individuals to stay in Camden County and thrive in Camden County. Thank you guys for being here tonight and for putting it on.
I did forget to introduce Mr. Todd Klein, who will wave with 15 seconds or close, and each question has a time limit that the candidate is aware of.
Take over.
Mr. Smith.
Yes, thank all of you for being here tonight. Thank you to the Camden County Republican Party for hosting this event. I know a lot of you in the room here tonight, but for those of you that don't know me, my name is Cody Smith. I'm running for State House District 180. I've been a long-time Camden County resident. My parents moved here in '96 when I was 2 years old. I started working here in Camden County when I was 15 years old, and I graduated in 2012 from Camden County High School with a focus on business marketing and management. Since then, I've accrued over 8+ years of experience in the hospitality and service industry until I started my own business in 2016 in Washington, D.C. Wanting to open my first brick and mortar location, I opened it in 2018 here in St. Mary's. And since then, we've grown it to the largest industrial hemp retailer on Georgia's coast, with locations in Brunswick and Chatham County as well. I started going to CCGA in the fall of 2019, pursuing a Bachelor of Science in Public Policy. COVID kind of messed things up there, but I plan on finishing that 2024. I have plenty of capital experience already, even though I'm a first-time candidate for this position. I've worked with Senator Sheila McNeil in her office as a legislative researcher and political aide. I've served as the first and second vice chair for the Camden County Republican Party, as well as vice chair of precinct development. I've served as the first district secretary for the Georgia GOP. I'm an auxiliary member of the Coastal Republican Women and the Camden County Republican Women's Club. And I'm also a member of the Camden and Clinton County Chambers.
Very nice.
I feel qualified because of my business experience and my love for Camden County as well. And I know it's a long 2 hours, so feel free to grab a water from the back.
Question number two, we will direct our thoughts. Question number two is directed to Mr. Smith.
Okay.
Mr. Smith, do you feel your strongest focus to be on social issues, education, health, healthcare, economic development, legal, judicial, or environmental resources? And how do your talent and skill set bring value to your representation of Camden County?
Thank you, Ms. June. That is a good question. Given my small business experience, I feel like I definitely have a big focus on economic development in our area. We have a lot of houses, but not a lot of industry. Environmental as well. I mean, we have a lot of natural resources, including in our district, Jekyll Island, Cumberland Island, all of the marshes and waterways. And just because I'm a conservative doesn't mean I don't believe in conservation. I want to protect those natural resources for generations down the road. When it comes to healthcare, I like to focus on mental health services. I believe we lack here compared to other counties around our area. And I've been working with a lot of healthcare professionals as well on what kind of services we could bring to help bolster that. My talent and skills, I mean, I'm a business negotiator. If you think I'm paying top dollar for the products in my store, that's not it. I'll work you down to the bottom dollar, and I'll do it in the most cost-effective way possible. Thank you.
So in terms of the political answer, you would just want to say all the above, but the intention when you go up to Atlanta is finding your distinct and competitive advantage. Our district will now cover the most coast in the state of Georgia. So out of the 100 miles we have on this coast, our district has the most waterfront property. What that means is conservation is, of course, a key issue. What we need to balance, and what you see in Atlanta, is there's a lot of Atlanta legislators who say, treat it like a museum down there and don't touch anything. That's not what we need to thrive. We need to balance our environmental necessities with being able to build. I've been contacted by several builders who had issues with getting EPD permits to be able to build homes. That raises the cost of houses that everyone's felt. Those things that happen, not under the table, but throughout our circumstances, is things we need to do before it becomes an issue, like our escalating housing prices. My main focus has been public safety. I'd like to say I have the least public safety experience of any cop on the street, but the most up in the Atlanta swamp. And that's why I've championed DUI legislation and also the Dangerous Sexual Predator Prevention Act that made sure that all the individuals who have gone off GPS monitoring over the last 4 years because of the Supreme Court decision get back on. That directly affects our safety and the safety of the most vulnerable people we have in our citizens, our children. Thank you.
We're having a dance up here. Can you say that? Don't worry.
Representative Saines, let us begin with you on this question number 3. Dealing with education. Camden County schools are among the highest performing in Georgia. Considering recent legislation passed by the Georgia General Assembly, what education bills or benefits do you consider most significant in creating a positive learning environment for Camden's students?
Sure. I'll start on the state level with the two most important things. There's not a lot of governments who can say we've cut your tax burden and increased your services, and the most important services the state can provide is education. I've been proud to vote on 4 different income tax reductions to your tax liability, 2 in a tax credit, 2 in a general income tax reduction. At the same time, we've done 2 separate pay raises for Georgia teachers to put them well above the national average, which is what we need to recruit the best in state. When we talk about the dangerous educational philosophies that are getting in our school systems. The best way to combat that is to have professionals who care about our kids. We need to pay them that kind of professional wage. When it comes to we've also voted for the first time in 30 years to fully fund quality basic education formula. And then on a federal level, distinct to this county is our federal impact aid fund we have because of the tax liability the military base takes out of us. We are about 13 to 14 kids the last time I checked in reducing that amount that comes in from the federal government, which reduces our general tax liability and increases the services our school board can provide. We need to do a better job of making sure that we get that funding back into the county as full as we can.
Yes, and I agree we do have some of the best schools here in the region. Educational bills that or benefits I consider most significant in creating a positive learning environment. There's a lot of talk in the conservative arena about school choice, and that may work best for districts that are in more urban areas where they have larger populations, but here we don't have a lot of choices. And so I would have to look more into that, but I imagine school choice wouldn't necessarily be the best choice for our Camden County schools, and we need to keep those public education dollars coming into our area. Another thing that I'm actually glad that they passed, it was preventing boys and girls sports. I feel like that would be a big distraction in the learning environment, and now it's going to prevent that from being a distraction. And another thing that I think is important, and this goes along with the mental health, is, and y'all may be aware that we have a lot of students that commit suicide in our district. I imagine some more funding for counselors that can be there maybe at least one day a week, where students can anonymously sign up to speak with a professional, and we can work on maybe saving some children's lives.
Let me direct our attention to question number 4 to you, Mr. Smith. Economics. Camden County's economic future is finally beginning to look brighter considering the redevelopment of the former mill property, Plug Power, the PEMB USA, and other opportunities. Considering emerging industrial and residential growth, what role do you play as our state representative in addressing or supporting that growth?
Thank you for the question, Ms. June. When it comes to emerging industrial growth, as your state representative, I want to be there to support it. If there's something I can do on the state level to open up doors for projects that are going to come to Camden County and benefit us on an economic level, I will support it. That's plain and simple. When it comes to residential growth, I have a big concern with the amount of apartment homes that are being built here in the area. When I imagine creating a life here in Camden County, I don't see it living in an apartment. But the problem is there's no more single-family homes being built or available for sale. So the cost of those single-family homes are rising. I want to work as a state representative with our local developers and find out what incentives we can provide to these developers to produce cost-effective single-family homes so people can, one, start their life here and stay here as well.
You guys gave specifics, and it's easy as a politician to talk about generalities, so we'll talk specifically about what Camden County has recruited. The Jacoby development at the paper mill is a prime example of something that has true and easy to see credibility. We've seen Jacoby do the Atlantic Station in Atlanta, and this is something exciting for us to redevelop the paper mill with. I've been in contact with them. They've asked for several bills, one including looking at that Hollywood tax credit that everyone likes to talk about that I'm frankly concerned about. How do we utilize that to our advantage? And I want to specifically modify that to increase the tax credits for individuals who employ veterans as technicians and items in those studios, because Jacoby feels like that paper mill is a prime area. I was proud to champion the Rural Innovation Funds that just got announced 2 weeks ago for the redevelopment of the St. Mary's Airport. That is, two already made industries are moving from Florida into Georgia. When we advocated for that, we again utilized our competitive advantage. In Atlanta, you can't say a lot when the local development comes to town that we're not just creating jobs in Georgia, but we're increasing Georgia's capacity away from another state, and it is a competition. So those two industries moved from Florida because of the hard work of our economic development professionals in our county into the St. Mary's. So we created what was an inactive site into a what will be a job creator. All right to look.
We now direct the question to Representative Saines. Question number 5. Gambling, the abortion pill, medical marijuana, election police, cash bail, and other bills were among several left on the cutting floor on sign day 2022. What bills do you think were most significant to Camden County that may need to be readdressed in the 2023 General Assembly session, and why?
I'll go down the list until the hand gets raised. The medical marijuana is an interesting one because I voted for the very specific oil that was allowed 2 years ago, and I voted against the one that came to the floor because it was clear that it was paid for by industry dollars outside of the state of Georgia. What I do not want for medical marijuana is it to be a gateway for recreational use, and that's why I voted no on the last one. It's a touchy subject because there are individuals that have deep medical needs that are significant enough to look at, but we need to do so responsibly. And in Camden County, we also need to look at it, and until the federal government does something about that substance, if we allow it in the state, they go to work and get into an accident, they're still fired from that job, and it's not right for me as a legislator for individuals who are working on base to let them be put in a position that they're not sure what they're allowed to do. Cash bail is a great example of judiciary gone awry. A lot of judges are now going and putting signature bonds on individuals for deep offenses. Signature bonds mean you just sign your name and you're done. A judge can set a bond at $10, but we want transparency in the process, and for dangerous offenses, there should be a serious bond to it. The casino gambling bill, I'm not for casinos. I'm willing to talk about sports betting, what you do on your phone when you go to the Jacksonville Jaguars here, the Braves in Atlanta, because it is hard to secure that ability. GBI has said itself that it can't do anything about individuals using off-nation products, and that's a Consumer Protection Act that I think that needs to be addressed. The last one being election and police. I will correct that the legislature did pass this year the ability for GBI to be the first source of investigations for election integrity. That's something we found through the process the last 2 years that was needed. We needed the top law enforcement in the state on it, and now we do. What I will say is this coming year, I do want to see drop box. We do have universal drop boxes. In the front of your driveway is a drop box. It's called the mailbox. If you want to utilize it, which I think it should be for excused absentee only, you can. But the drop box concept was something created by the other side to increase how easy it is to vote. Voting should be attainable for everyone, but it should have some level of necessity to do so. And going and requesting a mail-in ballot or going to your poll is not too much of a hardship to expect from a citizen who cares about their government.
In terms of what bills are significant to Camden County, I would say all of them because they're state laws and it would apply to everyone here. When it comes to gambling, I don't support gambling in the state of Georgia. There are plenty of destination places you go to gamble. You can go to Vegas, Atlantic City. If you really want to gamble, if you're just itching to gamble that bad, you can go up to exit 29 and take a boat ride out on the Emerald Princess into national or international waters. With the abortion pill, I don't believe in abortion. I believe that life begins during conception in the womb, and we need to do everything we can to support those mothers that are in that difficult situation. In terms of medical marijuana, there's plenty of other states that have this oil already available for their patients. The state legislature has been promising it to patients since 2015, and we're now in 2020, and there's still not a plant in the ground. So obviously the legislature saw the importance of it in 2015, and frankly I think they've been dragging their feet on getting that oil to patients in the state. Election police, as much oversight as we can have over our elections, I'll support. Cash bail is important. I don't believe in getting released on your own recognizance. That makes it easier for people to get out and go and reoffend before they've even had their day in court. Yeah, and like I said, they all affect us here in Georgia. So I think they're all equally important.
Our last question. We will begin with you, Mr. Smith.
Absolutely. For closing remarks, I'd simply like to say thank you guys for the time that we had here. If you have any questions, I'll be sticking around until after the county commissioner debate. And please consider voting for me on May 24th. Like I said, I'm extremely accessible. Accountability and accessibility are the pinnacle of my campaign. And just know that I will answer that phone when you call my office. Thank you.
Sure. Again, we do appreciate you coming here. It was a rainy day for a second. What I want to leave you with is, government can promise a lot of things, and it's easy to talk about on election day, let's cut our taxes, but what it takes is individual decisions that look at everything we do and make sure it's as efficient as possible and it's necessary for a government to do. You got two governments from local to national that have lowered your tax burden in the last 2 years at least. The state government and the city of Kingsland are the ones that have lowered your tax burden. And I take pride in being part of that state government that does that. We've done, again, 4 income tax reductions, and what one unfortunate candidate has called disgusting is giving back the money that citizens deserve. We gave to those who had tax liability, meaning they paid into the system, we gave back dollars because we were able to weather the storm of COVID better than we thought we would. What I will aim, I know a lot of people promise, hey, we're going to take away our entire income tax. I'm not going to just say that because I don't have the figures to back it up. Our income tax is half of everything we do. Our education dollars are half of everything we do. So that I don't think anyone wants to eliminate our public education system. But what I will dedicate to is Georgia's right now 8th per capita in your tax burden. I want to be first. Idaho is that right now. So take your entire burden from local to state and let's look at how we can lower that as a whole. And I think that's what's important to citizens, because I don't think anyone cares where that dollar is coming back to them from. They just want more of their dollars that they've worked for in their pocket, and I agree with that. Thank you guys for coming out.
Let's give them a hand. And we're going to kind of do a little swap out. Mr. Winkle and Mr. Turner will be seated over here. Mr. Blunt and Mr. Goodman to my left. And while they're doing that, and Mr. Kanan St. Rose with multimedia is going to be getting them ready, I'm going to kind of be doing a few commercials. So I'm going to cue Mr. Royal up, and we're going to do some fast talking here. So you may want to keep an eye on the screen, and hang on, we got to get straight here. Mr. Turner, you left a folder over here. There you go. All right, up on the screen, you see some real important dates. Early voting begins next week, May the 2nd. We are most likely going to have, I predict, with no authority whatsoever, that we will have a runoff. I'm guessing it's going to be in the governor and the Senate race, and it will happen on June 21st. So don't think this whole game is going to be over on May 24th. We're still going to be looking at signs all the way into November, okay? So get ready for that. Please go on our Facebook page, Camden GOP. Did you know there are over 40 Republican candidates on the ballot? Okay, over 40 candidates. We have featured each candidate one day at a time. We have one in the back of the room, Mr. Jeff Jones, who's running for Senate. Some of y'all met him at our last forum, and he comes to see us quite frequently down here. But Go on that Facebook page, get familiar with the candidates. I think we're just finishing up. We're doing the commissioners now. And so that will help you meet everyone that is running on the Republican ticket. So basically, it will be the Republicans that elect our commissioners because there is an independent candidate that will be on the ballot. But if you request a Republican ballot, you'll be voting for commissioners. If you request a Democrat ballot, there are no commissioners on the Democrat ballot. A lot of times people don't understand primary voting. Primary voting is when the parties filter down to one candidate. It's brutal primary season. It's not my favorite time of the year because it makes us, oppose each other. And then we have to pull together and win in November. So just keep all that in mind. Our website, CamdenGAGOP.org, is a wealth of information. Every Republican and Democrat candidate is listed on there. Why do we list the Democrats? You need to know why we need to beat these folks. So go on there and check them out. Then look at all the primary, keep moving, Mr. Royal. All the primary candidates that we have, all those in yellow have been to Camden County, have touched us in some way. I know party chairs that say, well, I don't let those people that aren't polling very high come in and talk to our party. We've had everybody come. If you're missing those meetings the first Thursday of the month, you're missing. It's like riding a roller coaster. We squeeze them in there and we get everybody in there to speak. But we have met this many of those 40-something candidates. Our precincts, we have 14 precincts. Keep rolling, Mr. Royal. We have 14 precincts in Camden County. We have 12 polling locations. You need to know who your precinct officer is. The largest precinct is precinct number 9. That is Laurel, the Lakes, Mariners Landing, Water's Edge, Brighton Lakes. That is about 9,000 voters, okay? That precinct not only needs a precinct chair, it needs 2 precinct captains. If you live there, we need your help. If you don't know how to do it, we'll figure it out, because guess what? We hadn't known what we were doing either. We're doing the best we can. So as we get caught up with everything that's supposed to be Republican, please join us. We need your help. GOP ballot advisory questions. There are going to be 8 ballot advisory questions, and Mr. Royal's going to scroll through those kind of quickly.
Excuse me.
They are basically no-brainer questions, in my opinion, but if you look at those 8 questions, you got to vote yes or no on those questions, okay? To prevent ballot tampering, biological males who identify as females, 2 of the current federal work visa programs. You need to read up on those. There are 9 Democrat questions. You will not get the Democrat questions unless you ask for a Democrat ballot. But be aware that there will be Republican questions on that ballot. It leads the Republican Party of Georgia to also communicate with the National Republican Party on what those major issues are. I know some of y'all get this stuff in the mail over and over and over and over, and they want your opinion. They also want your money. I just give them my opinion and send it in. Okay, I know that's a surprise. Okay, next slide, Mr. Royal. This is real important. I'm not sure, I'm only aware that the local Republican Party started qualifying Republican local candidates in 2020. When commissioners run for office, we have them sign this oath. I believe in smaller government, committing to the people I serve to do collectively what cannot be done individually, and preserving and honoring individual ability, dignity, and freedom. I believe in respecting the taxpayer and commit to upholding good stewardship of the public's resources by providing transparency and acting with integrity. The commissioners and local officers in the county, in other words, the probate judge, I never can think of what the titles are, I can think of who the people are. Jennifer Lewis, our tax assessor, those folks, they qualify as Republicans with the local party. And when they qualify in their election, we ask them to sign off on this oath. I want y'all to remember that oath.